Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the live webinar on Advances in Power Electronics and Application in Different Fields, organized by Department of Electronics Engineering of Rizvi College of Engineering. Speaker of the webinar is Professor Ramkumar Maurya, sir. Now, I request sir to start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dhanashri madam, and a very good afternoon to all the authorities and colleagues and students here, and Eid Mubarak to all of you. And uh, in this session, as we are having some second year students also, so we will have some small introduction, and then we will go to the advanced part. If anyone has some doubt or he can ask in the chat box. Okay, so let's start. So can see power electronic applications never end. Maybe it's the locomotive railway engine, stealth mode submarines, then you have renewables, then you have robotics, then you have airplanes, then you have transmission, you have electric cars, you have inverter ACs, and then you have the biggest thing, that is the motor drives. So as you all know, power electronics is the subject which touches lives from local trains to chartered planes everywhere. So let's start. So a basic thing, that is what is power electronics. So what is power electronics? So this is what the application of, as we know what is power electronics is. This is what application of semiconductor or solid state electronics for the control and conversion of electric power. Okay. So suppose in very easy words, suppose you are feeling very warm, then what you do, you turn on the fan. After 5 minutes, you start feeling cold, you turn off the fan. You are controlling the flow of power for the fan. Suppose you can do this on, off. If suppose you have some superpower and you can turn on and off the switch 1,000 times in a second, then you are doing the work of a power electronic switch, a semiconductor switch, like IGBT, power MOSFET, GTO. This is what power electronic is. Of course, you won't be able to do this, but these power electronic switches are capable of doing this up to a very high frequency. Okay. So let's see. So just see what is this a simplified explanation of a power electronic circuit. If you see this, the red part is the high power part and the green part is the microcontroller and numerical control system. They are of a very low power system. They cannot drive a 100 HP motor. They won't be able to drive 100 HP motor, but the controlling and the processing is done in this, and this is interfaced with the load or motor by an optical interface or electrical interface, and there is a feedback here. The feedback is given and some whatever correction is done by the controller, it is again passed to the power devices for correction. So this is how a simple power electronic circuit works. Okay. So we have just 4 types of converters. All the magic happens due to these 4 types of converters. That is a AC-DC converter, that is known as rectifier, DC-DC converter, that is a chopper, DC-AC converter, that is an inverter, and cyclo converter, that is AC-AC converter. You can see these symbols. Okay. So if you go on to list the applications, there are many applications. I have listed very few. This is like drop in the ocean. What I have listed is a drop in the ocean. That is variable frequency drives. They are the heart of industry. Then there are electric and diesel traction locomotives. Then there are electric vehicles. There are UPS. There is rail converter. There is HVDC is there. FACTS controller is there. Multi-level inverter is there. SMPS is there. Electroplating, welding, induction heating. There are renewables. There are many applications. I have listed some of them. The device which is in most what you can say focus now is that IGBT. IGBT is the insulated gate bipolar transistor. IGBT is nothing but like a hybrid of a MOSFET. Just a minute, someone is raising hand. No, Acha. So IGBT is like what you can say. IGBT is just like what you can say. Input side is like of that of a MOSFET, and output side is that of a BJT. So here you can see that this is an IGBT. The symbol you can see, this symbol is of an IGBT. This symbol is of an IGBT with an anti-parallel diode. Inbuilt anti-parallel diode. So how this works is a very simple. Gate is low power. Collector to emitter current flow is high power. So high current flows from collector to emitter, gate is very low. So if you give on signal to the gate, current will flow from collector to emitter. If you remove the signal, current will stop. This is the basic thing, and everything happens with this only. So here you can see the center one. These are the normal IGBTs, low power IGBTs. The right one, white one, is this. This is a series. This is a series leg IGBT. This is a one leg IGBT, and here in the left side you can see this is a high power IGBT. This is an entire high power stack IGBT. This is known as IGBT brick. Entire IGBT brick, the left one. Okay. Now there are many switches like SCR, IGBT, and all that thing. So if you see this, if you see this diagram, on the x-axis there is frequency of operation, and y-axis there is a power level. So as the frequency of operation increases, means the more you turn, more fast you turn on and turn off, the power level of that type of switch will reduce. Okay, so SCRs, that means thyristors, are having very high power level, approximately more than 10 MVA, and MOSFETs, you see, they will be having very high frequency, above 100 kilohertz, but the power is less than 10 kVA. Okay, so SCR are used for high voltage applications, that is power control, HVDC fact application. Then IGBT MOSFET is used for UPS applications, then robot welder application, SMPS applications. IGBTs are something between this, because they are a good balance between high power as well as a good speed also. So now you know that DSPs are there in the market. That means the control, and Texas Instruments and many other companies are having DSPs, which are dedicated control type DSPs for power electronic applications. Okay, there are many such DSPs. This is a Hindustan rectifiers, Hind rectifiers DSP board, and this is one application of the C2000 series of Texas Instrument DSP, Texas to Instruments DSP. It is having many applications. That it has what you can say inbuilt EPWM. It has inbuilt short circuit protection, everything, and it has very high processing speed, as well as it has an inbuilt inbuilt multiplier also. Direct multiplication is also possible in this DSP. So as you can see that there are many applications to drive the high power semiconductors, electronics. You need a processor. This is this processor. That means this is a C2000 series DSP for. I'm just telling one Texas Instruments ka C2000 series. There are many DSPs in C2000 also. So Texas Instruments is having many DSPs like C2000. So C2000 is like there is a TMS 320F28069. This type there is one of the DSPs, Piccolo series on this Texas Instruments. It has this series. The C2000 is for only for control applications and power electronic applications. As you can see, these many power electronic applications and many more it can cover. Okay. So we will start with some of our first application, that is the power electronic converters for HVDC transmission. So this is what the main thing is that this is a small contribution as we are progressing towards one nation, one grid. We are progressing towards one nation, one grid. It's a small contribution toward this. Here you can see this. As you can see, the generation pockets are on the eastern side of India, where their coal is available. So these are the generation pockets, but the demand pockets like Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, all these things, Gujarat, are on the left side. So there should be transmission highways. So these transmission highways are of very long highways. These have to be made. So transferring power for such a long distance is a very big challenge. So we have a concept of HVDC. Directly we are not transferring AC power. So in HVDC, what is happening here? Input side, AC is there. AC is converted to DC. Then a long transmission is happening. Then again, the DC is converted to AC, and it is used for the distribution company. So all we have always learned that always AC system is always what you can say economical as compared to DC system, DC transmission. But we have to understand that after 400 to 600 kilometers, AC transmission becomes the cost of AC transmission increases. So if you are below 400 to 600 kilometers, AC transmission is okay. But above 400, 600 AC transmission, the losses increase, and what you can say, there are losses, there are line reactances, there are many such hindrances to this. So we go for HVDC. As you can see here, after this point, after this break-even point, AC cost of AC has increased, is going on increasing, because the initial cost of a DC HVDC converter station is high. That's why at low distances we are not using HVDC transmission. So this is a basic HVDC transmission. As you can see, sending end is there and receiving end is there, and what you do, from at the sending end there is one rectifier, and at the receiving end there is an inverter. Rectifier will convert it to DC, and this inverter will convert it again to AC. So let's see. This is what this is a bipolar circuit. This is a bipolar circuit. That means the return is through the ground. Return is through the ground. There is no detail. But this is one of the converters of a HVDC converter station. So as you can see, these are the transformers. This is the 12-pole converter. Then these are the filters, and this is the surge arresters. Okay, so why we are going for advantage of HVDC is that there is no reactive power, so long transmission lines can be laid. So transmission capacity is already almost 3 times than the AC. 3 times transmission we can increase for the same infrastructure. Less corona loss. This is not that corona. There is corona loss in lines also. That means this corona is very electrical engineers are knowing corona before this corona also. So lesser corona loss and radio electrical interference will be there with DC. So there is no limit on line. There is and even undersea cables can be laid in HVDC. Undersea cables are also possible. So as you can see, the same this infrastructure, 400 kV AC infrastructure, and the similar plus minus 500 kV infrastructure. This AC infrastructure and this will carry approximately same amount of power, as you can see on the screen. So this is the power of HVDC, power electronics. So one small example we will take, that is the Northeast Agra HVDC link. It has been built by ABB. Okay, this is approximately 1775 kilometers long from northeast. Northeast means from Biswanath Chairali, Alipurdwar, then to Agra. Biswanath Chairali, Alipurdwar to Agra. And if you know that it is approximately serving 90 million citizens. 90 million citizens is more than the population for many other countries also. So this is one of the HVDC links. Alipurdwar, as we all know, Alipurdwar. In Alipurdwar, we are having all, as you know, India has set up stations, generating stations in Bhutan, hydropower generating station, and that is being converged at Alipurdwar. From Alipurdwar, we are, and Biswanath Chairali and Assam, this HVDC link has been laid. So this is how the link has been laid. A very simple diagram I have tried to make here. So a 400 kV is converted to plus minus 800 at Chairali, and then same thing at this 400 kV, that means in Biswanath, and here in Siliguri means that Alipurdwar. Here also it has been converted to a minus 800, and then it is used in Agra. Okay, then it is used in Agra. So this is 6,000 megawatt, 6,000 megawatt power. The 90 million citizens, approximately for 9 crore people. So the specialty of this project is that it is first multi-terminal project for plus minus 800. It is 12 pulse. It is a working project. It is in 2016 it has started operation. So multi-terminal, it is having a capacity of what you can say, very high capacity, and if we say the overload capacity, it is the most highest capacity in the world. Then we are having a 5,000 ampere earthing. It is the first of a kind in the world. Some other projects, if you see in Mumbai also, it is a power hungry city. In Mumbai also, Chandrapur Bhivandi line, Chandrapur Padga Bhivandi line, that is approximately 762 kilometers from Chandrapur, has been laid. Then because the super thermal power plant in Chandrapur is there. Then there is a Rihan Dadri line is there. 250 megawatt HVDC Vindhyachal back-to-back station. HVDC station is only for synchronizing 2 different grids. That means if suppose there is, you cannot directly, if you cannot directly connect two grids directly, then HVDC back-to-back station is used. Then we are having approximately 1370 kilometer Talcher Kolar line. Then we are line. Then we are having Sasaram back-to-back station. We are also having Chandrapur back-to-back station for joining the western grid and the southern grid. Then Gajakua is there, and we are also having a HVDC in India-Bangladesh interconnector. We are selling power to Bangladesh. So we are also having a 1000 megawatt, that 2 into 500 megawatt ABB line, that is in India, in Bangladesh interconnector we are having. We are growing as a power surplus nation, as you know. Then India, Sri Lanka, these are some, one or two I have written, some, but there are many projects planned. That is India, Sri Lanka, undersea cable. This is approximate, this is also 4 into 250 megawatt. And there is Champa Kurukshetra, this HVDC line, and many more have been planned. So, you know, HVDC, so the demand scenario, as you can see that as we are going ahead, as we are going towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, and so many things are being planned. So, as you can see that approximately by 2027, the power requirement will be approximately 500, more than 500 gigawatts. So we are planning from now, and so that at the time we will be ready. So this is the existing highways, that is the DC highways as well as the AC highways. Okay. So now we have seen that how we are transmitting from this, and suppose at one time this coal power is not going to be enough. So, and this is also having some bad drawbacks. So we are having renewables. One thing we have to understand, that renewable energy is very unpredictable in nature. So if there is no power electronics, we will not have renewable energy. Okay, so we will start with this first one, that is the solar renewables. Okay, so as you can see here that how solar and renewables are there. So there is a PV panel. PV panels is connected to a DC-DC boost chopper, then DC-DC boost converter, then DC-AC converter, then a filter, and then a grid. This entire thing, as you can see, this block, grid synchronization, MPPT control, and all these things, this is performed by the DSP processing units, control units. There are many part of functions to be performed, that is grid control is there. There are many THD limits by government. There are many grid, if you are connecting to the grid, then you cannot make the grid unbalanced. You cannot unbalance the grid. You cannot insert harmonics in the grid. All these things are controlled by these control systems, or that is the control system implemented using DSPs, or what you can say microprocessor control systems. Then you are having also, maximum power point tracking. Means maximum power point tracking means as the sun goes down, the power power is also reducing. So this also has to be controlled. So as you know that life of a solar panel will be approximately 20 years. So if you cannot extract the power, then it will be a loss-making deal. So for this maximum power point tracking, there are many algorithms like perturb and observe, hill climbing. These are the algorithms for which maximum power point tracking is taking place. Then you have to do anti-islanding. Anti-islanding means if suppose the grid is down, then you have to turn your solar power should also be down. It should not supply the grid. It should be out. So suppose if grid there is a loss of power in the grid, you should be down. You should not keep on generating. There are many such. This is a IEEE 1574 standard. So okay. So here you can see this. This is what this path will be followed. This path is being followed by the. If you see, this is the blue one is the graph of a solar cell at a solar panel at suppose at highest insolation. Then suppose the sun goes down. That means approximately 4 o'clock. Then the lower insolation. Red one is more lower. So the power point will shift from this as this straight line, but we have to make it to this red line. Okay, so this trajectory we have to do. Then those algorithms have to be taken. Okay, the solar status, and I will also talk about what is the opportunities in this. So the natural potential of India, natural potential means if you cover each, our government has kept 100 gigawatt target and we have achieved 29 gigawatts. Okay, still approximately 70 gigawatt is still pending. So there is a big market in this. If anyone who wants to enter it for in job perspective or as an entrepreneur can do this thing. Okay, wind energy systems I'll go a little bit faster now. Okay, wind energy system, this is you are seeing is a vertical axis wind turbine. This you are saying is a horizontal axis wind turbine. Here also there are many types of converters are used, and this conversion is help with the power electronics, that is AC DC, DC AC converters. There are many types of wind turbine available, that is double field induction generators, synchronous generation and induction generator. These type of wind turbines are available. So there you can have a standalone system, that means without connecting to the grid. Here you can have grid connected system also. These are the different kind of power electronic based connections that are possible with the wind turbine. Here in the rightmost, if you see, these are the matrix converters. These are the latest development. So wind, you can see this what is the opportunity in wind. So you can see these are the wind wind density areas of India. And here also Gujarat is in, if you go around Dwarka Okha region, then Gujarat is leading in wind production. So what is this, the natural capacity now is approximately, the natural capacity means ideally speaking 300 gigawatts. Our target is 60 gigawatts and we have achieved up to 37 gigawatts. So approximately 50% is still left. There is a big opportunity in this also. So these are some of the companies which are in this business, that is Enercon, GE Wind, Suzlon, we all know. These are the companies which are engaged in this. Okay. So like this, we are having many applications here. I am taking few only. Then there is a micro hydro application also, renewables mein micro hydro application. You can see micro hydro applications. In short, if I tell you, if you remember the movie Swades, this was micro hydro application. Here, as you know, this is not possible that every time person will say and all these things. This is not possible. So there is power electronics for micro hydro application also. Okay, there are fuel cell applications are also there, tidal application also there. So students can, I am making them aware so they can also see in this, because I am showing you various case studies on this. You can go and do a definitely more detailed case study on these topics also. Okay, so now we will go to the next application, that is for railway converter applications. So in railway converters, as you know, that the main power grid is of 3-phase power grid, and the railway overhead railway lines, the overhead railway lines say, they are only single phase. Okay, so whenever the single single phases are connected for the railway grid, and if there is an unbalance, means if there are the density of traffic is not even, then a single line will be loaded. That will cause an unbalance in the public grid, and harmonics and many other problems are caused. So currently we are using the same, what we can say, we are balancing is that suppose at one point we will tap R and Y. As you can see here, this is the public grid 132 kV and this is the 25 kV overhead lines. So we will tap R and Y. Then after some time, then we have to take a neutral section. Because that time there will be no power. Otherwise there will be short circuit in the line. So then there will be neutral section. You will be knowing that when you are going out approximately between Andheri, then there is a what you can say, all the lights go off of the train and only the central lights will remain. So such things are happening because of the neutral section. So these neutral sections are there, and there is unbalance in the grid in this conventional system. So there are many like neutral, and there is power control is not there with you. Okay. So so this is the you can see this is the suburban Mumbai suburban map of the transformer substations substations that are in Mahalakshmi, Bandra, Jogeshwari, Borivali. These are conventional substations. Okay, they are using Scott transformers. Okay, Scott connection. These are some transformer connections which are being used. Okay, so they are using Scott transformers there. So in conventional, if we see that we are using in high load, that is MP Chhattisgarh coal line, we are using Scott transformer. Dedicated freight corridor also is going for Scott transformer. High speed rail is going for Scott transformer. But as time is progressing, ABB and many others have been proposing converter based railway station, traction substation. In this converter based traction substation, there is an overhead line that is a three-phase overhead line. Three-phase overhead line, there is so step down transformer is there, and there is a DC to AC DC DC AC converter. That means three-phase to single-phase converter. Here you do not have neutral sections. Here, because you are drawing power from all three phases, there is no unbalance, there is no harmonics. All these things are solved by this PE converter. So I will just show you, this is because then you can also have regeneration, you can have peak demand supply ratio, and then you can also have efficient regeneration. Efficient regeneration means when we are braking, when there is a railway trains are braking, now the Mumbai locals are having regenerative application. So when they are braking, they will regenerate the power, and this can be pushed back. Okay, so I will one example, that is the ABB Germany. They have installed one example I am taking. There are many such examples. That is, see, in India we are having railway power supply and local, and the public grid is having 50 hertz. But in Germany and all, the public grid is for 50 hertz, and the railway supply is 16.7 hertz. So this is done by using this converter, and there is this converter. It is 110 kV, 15 kV converter. As you can see here, just a minute. This converter, it is taking input from 110 kV, and this is the 110 kV, 50 hertz, and this is the output. This is the ABB converter power station in Germany. Okay, so here these two are the rectifier converters with the phase shifting transformer. Left is the phase shift. This one is the phase shifting transformer, the rectifier converters, and these are the inverters, and these are the transformers. Okay, these are some of the what you can say technical data for this. As one more thing, it is using micro SCADA. So micro SCADA or SCADA in power systems is, you know, that IoT abhi baat kar rahe, that there is IoT things, everything is going on, but SCADA for connecting all the substations is already in place. It is better than IoT also. Okay, it is a very secure network. How it is being controlled from one station to all the substations can be controlled by SCADA. ABB is having its own micro SCADA for small applications. So as we all know that what is the advantage of these power converters for railway traction, then it is having regeneration. You can have where the grid is weak in regions or like rural regions, the grid is very weak. Then there this power converter stations will be more applicable, more useful. Okay, then you can avoid unbalance, you can avoid harmonics. There are many things you can avoid by using converter power stations. And these are the many places where it has been implemented by ABB. There are many players like Siemens is there, Alstom is there, but this is for ABB. They have implemented so many at various European locations, and they are in conversation with the government for implementing this here also. Okay, then we are having variable speed induction motor drives. This is the most important application. You can know that induction motors are workhorses of industry. Even the shirt I am wearing, the food I am eating, the soap which I am using, everything is due to help of induction motors only. So if there is no induction motor, there is nothing. And if the induction motor can be efficiently controlled, then the motor drives, that is induction motor drives, power electronic induction motor drives, are the jockey of this industry. So these are three-phase induction motors. So what are the advantages of a three-phase induction motor are, that is, they are very, as compared to DC motor, they are very rugged, low maintenance, economical, and they have higher power to weight ratio than DC motors. But there are some cons. That means speed control of DC motor is very easy, but DC motor is costly. But speed control of AC induction motor is not easy. So it requires many V by F, vector control, and all those things. Starting current is large, and if you suppose if you are having too much money, and if I want to use it for application, I want 1 HP application, you will say मेरे पास बहुत पैसा है, मैं 5 HP का motor लेके आएगा. So this will be like, then always your motor will be underloaded, and it will have lightly loaded motor will always have poor lagging power factor. So lagging power factor also will be there. This is what AC motors are having drawback. So there are many applications where AC motors are used. So for this, you can see the rolling mills. This is one of the rolling mills, steel rolling mills. So why motor drives? Motor drives, what they do, they provide you this. Without motor drives, the induction motors, which are having advantages of economy and all those things. Without motor drives, you cannot make use of those, because speed control, and these motor drives give you speed control at constant and variable torque. Even see, most of the motor drives in industry, motors in industry are in form of pumps and fans. So pumps and fans, if suppose अभी आपके घर में एक पानी का नल है, आप उसके अंदर पंप पूरा जोर से चला देते, और बाद में क्या करते हैं, आपको पानी थोड़ा ही चाहिए, तो आप क्या करेंगे, नल का स्पीड एडजस्ट करेंगे, लेकिन आपका मोटर तो फुल पावर पे चल रहा है ना, पावर लॉस है, yes or no? So pump and fan application, they are variable torque applications. They are, if you use a drive, approximately 40 to 50% energy conservation can be taken from a drive. Even starting, stopping, reversal of motor by, there are very sophisticated programs, DSP control drives, which can, this is possible. Motor protection is possible. Regenerative braking in many high performance drives given by. So how this speed control is taking place, if you see this on off, there is a input is constant RMS voltage and constant frequency. To control the speed of induction motor, you have to, if you increase the speed, induction motors increase the frequency, induction motor speed will increase. You decrease the frequency, the induction motor speed will decrease. But it is easier said than done. Then there are many air gap, what you can say, air gap saturation is there. So you have to vary the voltage. That means if you are increasing the frequency, increase the voltage. Decreasing the frequency, decrease the voltage. So to do this, we are having PWM. PWM means on off, on off, on off. This you can see here, the above here, on off, on off, on off. This is, if you see, if he sees it, he will say that this is a square wave or a rectangular wave, but it is encoded sine wave, because pulse width modulated sine wave. Okay, I cannot go in detail because limitation of here also. But in a motor, motors are very big in inertial and inductive loads. So these inductive loads, when they draw a current, this will be a continuous current in this also. Okay, there will be a continuous current, and this speed of the induction motor can be controlled. This is what you can diagram of induction motor drive. Diode rectifier is there. Sometimes there is no, instead of diode rectifier, there is active front end rectifier is also used. Then inverter is there. Then there is a induction motor. This is the circuit diagram for this 3-phase to 3-phase drive. Okay, these are some very typical control methods. That is, this is the most common one, VVVF, that is variable voltage, variable frequency, and constant torque, variable torque applications. These are the very most, and these things, that means DTFC, FOC, DTC is direct torque control, FOC is field oriented control, and SVM is space vector modulation control. These are advanced methods. Okay. So the market here, I will just talk about the MV market, that means medium voltage market. The medium voltage market is approximately from 2.3 kilovolt to 13.8 kilovolt, and drives of 0.4 megawatts to 40 megawatts. But currently, as you can see, 1 to 4 megawatts is only being used, and the The voltage range which is being used is 3.3 to 6.6 kilovolt. This is the market survey done by ABB. This is a small non-technical thing, sorry for this, because but very important, I just want to show. In industry, 40% of MV drives, 40% of MV motors, and 40% is for pumps, 30% of fans, means approximately 70% is for pumps and fans. And pumps and fans, you can have the variable torque loads, we can have the most power saving. Okay, so this is the what is the market of the motors. And if you see this right one, at present only 3% is using MV drives, and 97% drive is not being used currently. So there is a big potential in this, and this can explode anytime as market progresses. This can is a in the not near future also things have started. This survey is done approximately in 2014. This survey is of 2014, now approximately 5 years. So this has already picked up. So a summary of these applications, if you go in for petrochemical applications, if you see there are pipelines, gas, see in petrochemical applications and many applications, DC motors cannot be used. DC motors are having brushes. DC motors are having brushes and commutator. Brushes, commutator for petrochemical gas applications are not used. AC motors are not having brushes. If there is a brush, there is a hazard, and brushless motors are only allowed. So in these AC motors, that is squirrel cage AC motors do not have brushes. That means there is no arcing in that. So in some applications like petrochemical application, gas pumps, petrochemical pumps, the use for the pipeline gas compressors and many other applications, cement applications for cement kilns, mining and metal applications, you are having wastewater transportation, and there are so many applications. This is also for very small application for medium voltage drives also. Low voltage drive and high voltage drive I have not seen. We have not shown here. I will just talk some one or two advanced MV drives. If you see this this drive, this is one. This one is ABB drive. This 1.2 megawatt 12 pulse drive. Okay, this is having multi-level inverter of three levels at this is an NPC type of inverter. Okay, this is a 15 level drive. So, sorry, 21 level drive. Without this is 21 level drive for 4.16 kilowatt, a 7.5. This is a ASI Robicon drive, IGBT based. Here, without using any filter, you can approximately get a sine wave at the output. That means at a voltage of approximately 4.16 kilovolt, you can get a sine wave without using filter. The 21 levels are there without using filters, only by using advanced control techniques, that is PWM, advanced PWM, that is space vector modulation and other techniques. You can have 21 levels without using any filters. As you know, on high power filters, inductive filters are made up, inductive filters and filters are made up of copper. It is very costly, and this is also Simowatt's Siemens drive. This is also a NPC drive. This is IGBT 3-phase drive, 3-level drive, and this is also NPC type of drive. These are some of the major players, and there are many other local also like GIC and many other. So these are the major players. Okay. Last application we will see that is PE converters. This is the one of the what you can say the thing that is driving this country. Any country, this is driving this PE converters for 3-phase loco drives. Okay, 3-phase traction drives in locomotives in Indian Railways. If you know this locomotive, this is a VAP7 locomotive. VAP7 CLW locomotives. This is 6,000 HP locomotive. This is a passenger locomotive. Locomotive means that passenger train. That means express train ka engine is known as locomotive. You see, this is a VAG9. This is also 6,000 HP locomotive. These are very advanced locomotives, but these are very advanced, technically very advanced power, having very advanced power electronics. If you see this block diagram of this locomotive. These are having, if you can see the pantograph is taking power from pantograph power from the overhead lines, and overhead lines, this is being rectified, and this rectifier, then there is an inverter. This inverter is the drive for the axle or train axles, train axle motors. Okay. So this is the I have drawn one simplified this pantograph. There is a after pantograph, there is transformer. From transformer, there is one phase to single phase AC to DC converter. There is a rectifier. From that, then there is a DC to three phase. We are taking one phase from the overhead lines and converting it to three phase for our induction motors in the drive. These are some of the salient features of this WAG-9 locomotive. This is one of the advanced locomotive. This is a GTO drive. GTO also is, they are also in this process of replacing this with IGBTs. Okay. And even in this GTO, they are using MICUS S2 based microprocessor control. MICUS S2 is a ABB developed microprocessor based control for locomotives. So we will just talk about one or two lines about these drives. The power converter is a ABB power converter design. This is made in India, but ABB power converter design using Toshiba thyristors and UPEC diodes. Okay. So actually, this is the power schematic. Won't be able to see here. This is the power schematic of a WAG-9 or WAP-7. WAG-9 and WAP-7 are same locomotives. WAP-7 is having a lower gear ratio for it, as it is for passenger application, and WAG-9 is having higher gear ratio for freight application. So this is the traction converter. Okay. Okay, I will just tell fast. I will go. So there are three types of controls which are being implemented in this locomotives, and even locomotives, and even in our Mumbai locals also, there are three types of this control. That is PWM type control. There is a tolerance band control, and there is a square wave operation. So you can see that while starting and up to the rated speed, we are using what from this one first and second one. And then there is a one that means above rated speed if you want to go. Approximately it can go maximum to 100 km/h. Okay, by using this high speed less track here, but the traction will be less. That means pulling force will be less because already the locomotive is started. It is traveling around 50, though you don't. It is having high momentum. So at that time, traction tractive effort is not required that much. So this is the MICUS S2. MICUS S2. If you can see, this is the MICUS S2 schematic for the you can see this WAG-9 tractive chart. If you can see WAG-9 tractive chart, maximum it can produce a tractive effort of more than 45 tons. More than 45 tons starting tractive effort it can give with the help of this power electronics, and the speed at approximately 15 ton tractive effort, it can go up to 100 km/h. Okay, now this WAG-12, this India, approximately 5 or 6 days ago only, the first WAG-12 was put into service. This is one of the most powerful locomotives in the world. As India is going for the dedicated freight corridors, this WAG-12 is made for what you can say for only dedicated freight application. That means to pull freight locomotives only. So this is a 12,000 HP IGBT propulsion. This has already been IGBT propulsion. So we have ordered 800 and it is made in Bihar. We are having a make in India. Alstom Switzerland is making it. Alstom France is making in it. Bihar only. So here you can see this pamphlet that is released by Alstom only. The motors used here are the 1125 kilowatt motors. That is pinion drive motors. That is 6FRA 4576. These are most advanced motors. Okay, and this is what IGBT water drive. IGBT water cooled drive it is having. See, these are modernization is also taking place. So this is also having a big future. These are diesel locomotives. Diesel locomotives also is having very high future because there are no locomotives without power electronics. All locomotives first they are having diesel engines, and these diesel IC engines are first being used to generate electrical power, and then they are used for using that. Even diesel loco is not using direct drive. It is always via an electrical drive. So these are some of the companies which are in this. These are only some I have listed here. Okay, so then there is for electrical vehicles. As you all know, electrical vehicles are also in this is similar to this. This is a very small application as compared to the locomotives, similar to this DSP based application. Okay, thank you for this, and I think some queries there.
Student question answer session is on. So those who have any questions, please write in our chat box. So there is a question. What are
maglev train, है ना? Wow. Hello. See, maglev trains are nothing else but if you take one motor, cut it from the center, and you just open the motor, that is maglev train. The maglev train itself is a motor. Okay, so there are two parts. There is one propulsion part and there is a one levitating part. The levitating part is also done by having power electronic circuit. क्या ये technique behind proposed bullet train from Ahmedabad to Mumbai. So the bullet trains which are using, I suppose we are talking about what you can say, bullet train means the train ka baat kar rahe, that or power converter stations we are talking about. We are talking about trains. So up till now for bullet trains technology they are proposing is an EMU technology, that is electrical multiple units. They will not be having what you can say one locomotive. Instead of that, how the Mumbai local runs, there is after every 3 bogies there is a 3 trailing bogies, there is a driving bogie, there is a driving coach. So it will be a EMU based system. Sir, considering the fast bullet train currently working in some countries, what is the limitation of locomotives in India that we cannot achieve the same? See, as you know that India is having one of the most developed locomotives in the world. In some countries like Afghanistan, Mali, Senegal, Somalia, and many countries, we are exporting locomotives. Okay, so in the locomotive industry, that means for freight locomotive, that means diesel freight locomotives, US is the leading in it. But as we are going ahead, there is a diesel loco modernization works, DLMW in Patiala, which is they are modernizing each and every, even the ALCO locomotives, EMD locomotives, they are trying to modernize. Sir, how do you see HVDC market and job prospect in power electronic industry? See, as power, as you can see that we are taking power from, we are producing power in Bhutan. We are even having interconnectors with Nepal. We are having interconnector with Bangladesh. We are also having, we had earlier planned an interconnector with Myanmar also. So these interconnectors are there. So if you see that as this industry progresses and all the power, so this HVDC highways will be required. And if suppose these renewables are there, so these renewables will not, it is not easy to get land in cities where there is the use, that means so for renewable, suppose solar renewable, you should have a big solar field. So that too will be in very remote place where their cost of land is very less. So for that transferring also HVDC market is going to be the, what you can say, in the coming years, it will be the one of the most booming markets. Sir, is there any relation between Hyperloop and locomotive? So actually in Hyperloop, so Hyperloop is what? Hyperloop, they are trying to make one loop. In that loop, they will be running one, what you can vacuum they will create in the loop. So the air resistance, which limits the speed, that air resistance reduce due to vacuum. Are you getting my point? So even in that hyperloop also, what you can say, very high power, that very big locomotives cannot run. The hyperloop is not possible for that. Very small trains will be able to run in hyperloop. Okay, because the vacuumization of the tube. Talking about magnetic levitation, do we see a future of HVDC in railways? See, HVDC in everything. HVDC is from one transco to other transco. That means national power grid is one transco. It will go to the Mahatransco. From that, Mahatransco has to convert it into AC, and then it has to give to other discom, that means distributors, like suppose they are having Mahavitran, suppose they are having BEST, they are having some Adani Power. So they will give it to HVDC is a transco thing. What is cycloconverter? What cycloconverter is? Cyclo means what? Frequency, and converter means frequency converter. So it is an AC to AC converter if you, without going to DC. So no need for it going to DC. Otherwise, the same thing is that you go from AC to DC, then again you have to go to AC. In cycloconverter, directly from AC to AC you can go quickly. Or 100 hertz ka 50 hertz, like this cycloconverter.
Thank you, Ram sir.
Thank you, ma'am.